This
Operation,
conference will now be recorded.
which is adsorption. So, so all of you know that the adsorption is a quite common phenomena which will be taking place when you have a contact the fluid and solid, and here the solid is the separating agent, and the fluid will have one of the component to get separated by the solid. So solid phase is usually called in this operation as adsorbent. Then the fluid may be either gas or liquid. So the component which you are separating from this fluid phase is called adsorbate. So here the mass transfer is in the opposite direction for its companion operation, that is the desorption. Once it is adsorbed, and you can also do the combination of adsorption and desorption so that the component can be recovered. Okay, just like gas absorption and stripping as a pair, you can also do the adsorption and desorption in the one particular setup so that the component can be recovered. So usually this is used to recover some of the components which are escaping in the gaseous phase. Maybe other it is having no solubility in the liquid phase, then you can use the solid phase so that it will be getting adsorbed onto that due to the certain van der Waals force of the that particular molecule, so which will be attracted by the solid, so it will be condensing on the solid. So usually you see that the drying involves gas solid and leaching liquid solid. Contact with mass transfer in each case in the direction is solid to fluid. So that these are the special cases of the desorption. You can understand the drying and leaching, where you can see that the component is getting from the solid phase to gas phase, here from the solid phase to liquid phase. So these are the special cases of the desorption. Why I'm telling is you can use the similar type of equipment for the desorption as well as the contact with this. You can also use adsorption and desorption simultaneously. So theoretically, at least the same apparatus and equipment useful for gas solid and liquid solid contact in adsorption should also be useful in the corresponding operations of the drying and leaching. In practice, however, we find special types of the apparatus in all three categories. So let us see the one is the adsorption and another is desorption, and the third one is the third category is both, combination of the both. Even though they are looking like the contact between the fluid and solid, so you find special type of apparatus which can be used, so that we will discuss once we discuss the principles of the adsorption. So you have already exposed to the adsorption in your physical chemistry. So there will be two type of adsorptions. One is the physical adsorption and another is chemical adsorption. So physical adsorption, or you can also call it as van der Waals adsorption, a readily reversible phenomena. So it is a reversible phenomena. That means the component once transferring onto the solid surface, it can be recovered without any physical or chemical changes. So that is called a reversible phenomena, is the result of intramolecular forces of attraction between the molecules of the solid and the substance which you are intended to adsorb. So the substance which is adsorbed and the solid which you are using to adsorb, so both molecules are having some intermolecular forces. Maybe there will be attraction, intermolecular attraction. Due to that, the molecules are getting condensed upon the surface of the solid, even though its pressure may be lower than the vapor pressure corresponding to the prevailing temperature. Usually when you increase the pressure, so that time they have to condense, but even though the pressure is lower, they will get condensed due to the intramolecular attraction between the adsorbate molecules and adsorbent molecules. So you should know the definitions of the adsorbate and adsorbent. So the process is quite rapid and exothermic. The physical absorption is quite rapid, and exothermic heat liberated is comparable to enthalpy of the vapor condensation. So it is 2 to 20 kilojoules per gram mole, in that range. So heat of absorption will be released because of exothermicity of the operation. So usually temperature, a small rise can be observed in the temperature, and adsorption occurs, and adsorbate is held on the adsorbent surface by relatively weak intermolecular attractive forces. Those are van der Waals forces, and adsorption is directly proportional to the adsorbent surface and can occur as a mono or multi-layer. So you can see over the surface there will be a monolayer or multi-layer. In certain cases, so the adsorbent will have a large surface area because of its porosity. So in the pores also, capillaries, you find a very thin layer of the adsorbate will be formed, and over which you can also see the multi-layer. However, the quantity of this layer will be reduced than the layer which is adjacent to the surface of the solid. So the layer thickness will depend upon the capacity of the adsorbent which you are using. But as I told previously, the physical adsorption is a reversible process. So you can get the component, the adsorbate, as it is. The temperature increase and lowering of adsorbate concentration results in the desorption. So when you do this one, then you will get the desorption. So adsorbate is relatively free to move on the surface. So this, the component is over the surface, you will find more concentration than the bulk fluid, either gas or liquid. Okay. And if you see the chemisorption, chemical adsorption, so exothermic process and involves the chemical interaction between the adsorbate and adsorbent. So whatever substance you are interested to separate, that substance will have some chemical interaction with the surface of the solid, which is called adsorbent. So both will give. So it is a irreversible operation. So it involves the strong bond formation. Energy liberated is 20 to 400 kilojoules per gram mole. So you will get added to the heat of adsorption, heat of reaction also will be liberated a large quantity of the heat. So only monomolecular layer of the adsorbate is formed on the adsorbent, because one layer, once it is getting reacted over the surface, then the surface will be further not accessible to the next layer of the adsorbate for the reactions. Therefore, only monolayer is possible in terms of the in case of the chemical adsorption. If dissolved, the dissorbent might have undergone chemical change and it is different from the adsorbent. So even though you remove some of the newly formed component because of the chemical reaction, then when you separate, you cannot get the component or original component which you have separated from the feed phase back. So this is the disadvantage of the chemical adsorption. However, in certain cases, unwanted molecules from the fluid phase will be removed by using the adsorbent, because we are not interested to recover them back. In such case, chemisorption will be used. So also you can see the exchange adsorption, ion exchange adsorption, where the ionization will be done. Then the ions only will be attracted by the surface. So charged site on the surface are responsible for the separation. So such type of adsorption also there, which is called ion exchange operations, because you know that it is widely used for the water treatment. So adsorption by activated carbon is a combination of the physical and chemical adsorption. So activated carbon is usually used where the physical adsorption will be there, and the next time when you are removing it, then you will have a combination of the both. So certain operations are there where you can use the combination of the both physical adsorption as well as chemical adsorption. So if you just focus on the what are the adsorbents and how they can be utilized for the particular purpose. If you focus on that, we have a many adsorbents which are activated carbon, silica gel, activated alumina, and synthetic zeolite, molecular sieves, and nowadays the adsorbents also being synthesized from various sources, particularly natural source, plant parts also can be used as an adsorbent, and a bioadsorbents also there, and that will also uh, maybe participate in the this operation. Particularly they will be chemical adsorption, because they will get reacted with the adsorbents. But however, you have a numerous applications for the adsorption. So that is one is contaminants which are there in the solutions, like exhaust vents and emissions from the industries. Many like even carbon dioxide is now being removed by using this specific technique, and where you can recover the carbon dioxide back, and that will be utilized further synthesizing of the many chemicals from the carbon dioxide, which has been adsorbed onto the some of the alkali adsorbents, and non-combustible gases pollutants specifically present at low concentration in some of the uh, gaseous fuels. They have non-combustible gases pollutants, so they decrease the calorific value of that fuel gas, so you can separate them by using these adsorbents. And pollutants sufficiently valuable and warrant recovery. In many cases, you see that the organic volatile organic components, VOC, so they will be escaping from the gaseous streams, and they can be able to separate by using this particular technique. And the most common is the water purification. So you can see the for water purification widely this is used. That is the for getting the original taste of the water, and also original color of the water. You can use the adsorption technique, where you can use one of the adsorbent, particularly activated carbon, through the bed of activated carbon. If you pass this water, then the whatever color is there in that will be removed. And some of the effluents and from the wastewater can be removed by using this adsorption techniques. So you can remove the heavy metals which are there in the wastewater by using the adsorption technique, and also the dyes, and which are very harmful to the like animals, and you can remove by using this adsorption technique. And also from the pharma industry, many chemicals, toxic chemicals, which are let out through the wastewater, so that causes a lot of damage to the environment. Then you can use the adsorbents, selective adsorbents, therefore they can be purified. And then the drying of any solids, so you can use, or the drying of air. You can use the silica gel drying of air in a instruments. You can just put the silica gel in the gel form, uh, you can keep that chamber where air is having are expected to have some moisture, then whatever moisture is there, that will be absorbed by the silica gel. Therefore, pure dry air will be there in that chamber. So that wetting environment can be removed in that by using this particular technique. And the separation and purification of gases from air. And see, in certain cases, if you have many components which are escaping in the gas, or there are multi-component gases in which one of the component you would like to separate, then selectively you can separate one component out of the mixture of gases, mixture of multi-components. One component can be separated because that component is having more affinity towards the solid surface. Like that, you can do the fractionation of the gaseous mixture by using this particular technique, where the synthetic zeolite, that molecular sieves are mostly used for the fractionation of the gaseous mixtures in the industry. And also the nitrogen and oxygen, out of that one component can be removed by using the specially designed adsorbent. So you can also have the adsorption chillers, where you can just take the moisture content that can be increased into the um, like in the environment by using a special equipments. So these all are available in the literature. You can go through the different type of adsorbents and different type of applications which are available. Mostly you can see that activated carbon, when you take silica gel and activated aluminum and synthetic zeolite, this is the out of this, the synthetic zeolites are having lot of surface area. That surface area per gram you can see in hundreds of meter squares, like very huge surface area for the condensation of the solute molecules. So this surface area can be increased by various techniques. So that is involved in the synthetic geolites, but natural adsorbent which you get, so they will be having a specific surface area, and that can also be enhanced by using a special techniques. However, the preparation of the adsorbent should follow a standard operation, and then by keeping in mind the particular application. For example, if you take the separation of the gases or the purification of the gases from the air, so you can selectively choose one of the adsorbent, and that adsorbent should go for the preparation certain like enhancement of the area, pore diameter, and also surface area, whatever maybe you can prepare that, and then you can use for the particular purpose. Okay. And then if you see here, usually there are two phases, and this has become a mass transfer operation because of the nature that one feed phase is there and another separating agent phase. The feed phase is the fluid, and the separating agent phase is the solid. So they reach to the equilibrium, therefore it is an equilibrium governed operation. And at a given temperature, the concentrations of the feed phase and that separating agent phase can be drawn in one of the diagram, which is called equilibrium diagram, or it is drawn at a given temperature, then we can call it as the isotherm. Means at a given temperature, constant temperature, you are able to do the correlate between the solute concentration, that is the adsorbate concentration, in the feed phase as well as in the solid, that is the separating agent phase. So we have this type of diagrams where you can take your pressure, which is usually the partial pressures. then you can take this the concentration of the solute in the solid. So you can draw the graph. So that graph will be usually like this. And you have in other cases like liquid liquid and solid liquid and liquid vapor or vapor liquid, you have a special no principles by which you can able to correlate between the concentrations of the particular component in the vapor phase, liquid phase, or liquid liquid, or solid liquid. Like here also you have certain equations by which you can able to correlate the concentration, which is the quantity of adsorbate adsorbed from the gas per unit adsorbent, that is this one, is measured again at the partial presence of the adsorbate in gas, because a partially it is presenting in the gas, so that gives the usually the partial pressures at the equilibrium at the given temperature, very sensitive to T. So increase of the adsorbate in liquid solution, the measurement is again is the concentration of the adsorbent in the solution. So if you take a particular value here, so if you have this much in the gas phase, partial pressure, that will be automatically equilibrium with the a solid phase which should have this much concentration. If it is more than or less than, then again there will be certain exchange of the molecules. Finally, they reaches to the equilibrium at these conditions. Similarly, if you have a more molecules, then this line, this point slides on this curve. So this curve is called adsorption isotherms. Isotherm. So such isotherms are there, and however you will get a one saturation pressure at which you will find there will be a typically no change in the vapor partial pressures and also the concentration in the solid. Okay, if you come down, then only, so that means to here if you take these points, then both the phases are under the saturated condition, so they are not able to participate in the mass transfer operation. So you have to just send the gas at a lesser temperature than this, so that the partial pressure of that particular component in the gas will be reduced, so that again the mass transfer will be taking place. We'll see that in the, see, you can see many of such diagrams which can be drawn. For example, if you take the equilibrium adsorption of the vapors on activated carbon, one component, for example, if you take the methane at 25 degrees centigrade, you can see that the very, very less concentration is there in the solid phase, and the partial presence of the methane in the gas phase is very high. So such a adsorbent you should not select. For example, if you select activated carbon to remove the methane at 25 degrees centigrade, that is a bad selection. Then the acetone at 160 degrees centigrade will give this type of curve. And the same acetone, if you reduce 100 degrees centigrade, you will have this. And if you just take the acetone at 30 degrees centigrade, then you have this type. So that means this is the best curve, and which will be consuming less activated carbon for the removal of the maximum acetone. So 30 degrees centigrade, that means higher temperatures are not required for the adsorption. Therefore, uh, therefore, it is a low energy consumed operation. Energy consumption will be very, very less in case of this one. You see that if temperature increases, the isotherm will become very steeper, very steeper. So that means if you take kg adsorbed kg carbon, see here you are having this much. For example, if you take this one acetone, you are having very, very less acetone in the because this gives the partial pressure or that is also equal to the content of the acetone in the gas phase. So that is very low. And if you take for the same concentration 100 degrees centigrade, you see the partial pressure of the acetone in the gas which is in contact of this solid is increasing. So if you take the median, it goes infinite. If you take the acetone at 160 degrees centigrade, it goes in. That means the temperature effect on the operation will be very, very sensitive. If you just give the temperature to the operation, then the whatever absorbed onto the surface that will escape into the gas phase. So therefore, it is not desirable at high temperature. Okay. So again, you can draw the graph, same graph in this manner, and you have at a given temperature, this is the saturation vapor pressure of the particular component. So you should conduct operation below this. Below this only it is possible. But when you reach this one, then they will become typically saturated. Again, you can take this as a standard value, that is the saturation vapor pressure of the that particular component which is being absorbed as a standard value. Then you can take the partial pressure of the component in the gas phase. The star indicates the equivalent partial pressure divided by P will give you this type of curves. For different adsorbents under different adsorbents, you will get different type of curves. And the interpretation of this curves and relation is very sensitive with respect to of the temperature as well as with respect to of the its concentration in the given like gas phase. And also when you see here, because when the adsorption is taking place, if you can follow this, and like here, when the adsorption is taking place, you can just see that it follows this curve, and for the same thing, same adsorbent is used, because while the concentration of the component on the solid for a given 1 gram of the solid is increasing, it automatically saturated at a particular value, partial pressure also increases. But when you are doing the desorption using the same adsorbate, then you can see that the curve will not follow the same line. It is its partial pressures are decreasing, and then during the desorption it follows another graph. So this is called adsorption hysteresis. This is because of that, while the adsorption is going on the solid surface, all the pores are getting open, and then while the desorption is taking place, because of the opening of the these pores, then the surface area increases. So this is the force exerted by the molecules for a given surface area. Then because of the increase in the surface area pore diameter, and you can see that the partial pressures are decreasing during the desorption. So adsorption partial pressures are more than the desorption partial pressure for the same concentration. So that is the hysteresis which you observed. So this may be the result of the shape of the openings to the capillaries and pores of the solid, or of complex phenomena of wetting of the solid by the absorbate. In any case, when the hysteresis is observed, the desorption equilibrium pressure is always lower than that obtained by the adsorption. So this type of hysteresis is usually observed in case of the physical adsorption in almost all um, conventional adsorbents. Okay, so you should take because you see you cannot use same equilibrium relation for adsorption and desorption. So because if the combination is there in the single unit, then you should take care of this. Okay. And also you can calculate the heat of adsorption. How do you calculate heat of adsorption? The differential heat of adsorption is defined as the heat liberated at constant temperature when unit quantity of vapor is adsorbed upon a large quantity of the solid already containing adsorbate. So this is how you can define the heat of adsorption. Such a large quantity of the solid is used that the adsorbate concentration is unchanged. The integral heat of adsorption at any concentration x of adsorbate upon the solid is defined as the enthalpy of the adsorbate combination minus the sum of the enthalpies of the unit weight of the pure solid adsorbent and sufficient pure adsorbed substance before adsorption to provide the required concentration x, all that at the same temperature. So these are the both functions of the temperature as well as the concentration for any system. So you can calculate by using these equations like d ln p star by d ln p. Here the P star is, you can understand this is the partial pressure, equilibrium partial pressure, and this is the vapor pressure, saturated vapor pressure at a given temperature. Then this is the heat of adsorption. Then this M is the, because it's a molar, you can take convert into the weight, and you can just take the reference uh, component, and its latent heat can be taken, and finally you can calculate the delta H by using this one. And then if you have a different concentration, so this can be integrated from 0 to x, because at each concentration, because this M depends on that, and the P star also depends on the x. So at each concentration, this H bar varies. So such H bars at x can be taken, and do the integration, and then you will get the delta HA. So this is the integral heat of adsorption, which can be found out between the range of the concentrations under which the adsorption is taking place. So this usually very less in case of the physical adsorption, whereas in case of the chemisorption, it will be more, because to delta HA, the heat of reaction will also be added. Okay, so that is how you can able to find out the heat of adsorption. Okay, then if you take the liquids, usually in the those are the gases which we have discussed so far. If you take the liquids, in the liquid, when it is contacted with the solid phase, liquid and solid phase, and you can see that once the component is getting removed by the solid, then you will find the concentrations will change in the liquid phase. So if these concentrations are very high, then you see there will be a density change also will be occurring in that. Therefore, you will get, you can draw the graph in case of the liquids, equilibrium solute concentration in liquid versus weight of the solute apparently adsorbed per weight of the adsorbent. Because see, once it is being adsorbed, you can use this one. This is the see, V into C0 minus C star. What is C0? This is the kg moles per meter cube. This is the kilomoles per meter cube at equilibrium. This is initially taken. So this will give how many moles are transferred onto the solid. So that into volume, if you take this volume, then you will get the mass solute adsorbed per mass adsorbent. So per given adsorbent, you will get this. This is called apparent adsorbent. So this apparent adsorbent will be taken here, and liquid concentration can be measured. But in the solid, you cannot measure this. So you can take this apparent, and then you can draw, and you will get a different type of these things. However, the predicting of the equilibrium relation is very difficult in case of the adsorption. So we have many adsorption models to predict the adsorption isotherm at a given temperature. One of the isotherm which is given in the book is a Langmuir adsorption isotherm. This Langmuir adsorption isotherm assumes unimolecular layer. That means only one layer will be there. Therefore, you can just assume the Langmuir relation will be applicable. So mass of adsorbate per unit mass of adsorbent is proportional to this F. So this F is what? F is occupied fraction of the total solid surface. In the total solid surface, how much of surface is occupied by the solute molecules? So that is the F. So that can be finally, you can develop an equation here. So these are the Langmuir constants, and you can find out the relation between the CE is the concentration or partial pressure of the adsorbate. If the liquid, you can take the concentration. If the gas, you can take the partial pressure, and their remaining things can be merged with this. And because CE usually can be converted into the P by RT, so this RT by kb can be merged in the constant, and then you will get the partial pressure term in case of the gas. In case of the liquid, you can take direct concentration. So this is the quantity adsorbed onto the solid. So this is the quantity of the solute which is there in the gas phase or fluid, let me say, either gas or liquid. So with that, you can able to draw the lines so that from the intercept slope you can find out this one. But however, it will relates the equilibrium concentration in the solid, also equilibrium concentration in the fluid. Okay. And another one is the Friedrich adsorption isotherm. So this is applicable at very low and very high adsorbate partial pressure. Langmuir isotherm takes Friedrich isotherm form at very low and very high adsorbate partial pressure. Langmuir isotherm takes Friedrich isotherm form, because if you have a very low pressure, partial pressure means dilute solutions, as well as very high. Very high means one of the component, other component will be. So that is having this type of relation. Okay. So here K is Freundlich capacity factor and N is the Freundlich intensity parameter. So these two are very, very important. So then you can have, for a given experimental data, you can find out slope 1 by n it gives, and intercept gives the log k. Therefore, you can find out these two. So this is more useful, more useful when you have a multi layers. If you have a mono layer, then usually the Langmuir isotherm is applicable. If you have a multi layer adsorption, then this is applicable. Adsorption isotherms can also be constructed for heterogeneous mixtures of the components. Parameters like TOC, COD, dissolved organic halogens, fluorescence, these all will give you the different constants. But these constants plays vital role that we will know in the coming next few slides. So here we have established some relation, and previously we have selected one of the adsorbent for our separation. Maybe one component can be selectively separated by using one adsorbent. So you have taken that adsorbent and also keeping in mind adsorbate, then you have a relation of this. Now the operation can be done like other stage operations. So this also can be done by using a single stage operation or multi-stage operations. So in a single stage operation, you can see that if you use the liquid, then you can use contact filtration process. Means the liquid will go and contact with this much of solid, and then you can get separated of the treated liquid, and then used adsorbent. So like that. Or you can also keep this in a one chamber, and where you can send the air which is having one of the pollutant, then the keep your certain weight of the adsorbent here, so that the air passes over that, and then few composition or few concentration or few molecules of the adsorbate is getting removed, and finally the liquid or gas will come out, and then you can remove the adsorbent after some time. So this gives a single stage operation where they are allowed to reach the equilibrium. Finally you have removed it. Okay, so here if you just see the mass balance of the solute will give you LS is the pure solvent in kgs, and SS is the pure adsorbent in kgs. Both can be uh, known. Now you take Y0 as the solute contained in the this liquid phase, or you can also take a gas phase. So you will get Y0 as kg solute per kg of solvent. So that gives the weight ratio of the, or mole ratio also can be taken. That time this will be moles, and if you take the weight, then weight ratio, then this will be the total weight. So Y0 is equal to weight of the solute divided by weight of the solvent. For example, if you take a water in which dye is there, then the weight of the dye units, maybe dye cannot be measured in terms of the kgs or grams like that. So weight of the dye units, maybe you can use the color units, weight of the units of the dye divided by kg of the water. So you can take that as a weight ratio. Then you can use some of the solid, maybe activated carbon or alumina or silica gel here. So you will get uh, that weight here, and in which there may be certain solute, or sometimes this is zero. If you use the press solid, that may be zero. So that can be used and made contact. So there are many ways to make the contact between these two phases. We will discuss that in the equipment description in coming slides. Then after allowing them to the reach equilibrium, then you will get the equilibrium, that means a saturated phase of the solid, saturated phase of the liquid. So in which this is the way, content of solute, in which this is the solute content. Then you can do the solute balance, will give you this. This is the solute balance. So that can be converted into this SS by LS, Y0 minus Y1 by X1 minus X0. For example, if you take the press solvent, press solid, that is X0 is 0. So remove that one, and X1 is there. So you know this is the Freundlich equation. Y star is equal to mx power n. So that can be converted in this form. X1 is equal to y1 by m into whole power 1 by n. So this can be substituted here, so that only one phase characteristics are involved in this. That is what Y0 is the liquid or a fluid initial concentration, Y1 is the fluid final concentration in the single stage, and Y1 by M 1 by N. So M is the Freundlich constant, N is the exponential constants of the Freundlich isotope. So this SS by LS, what is SS by LS? The solid required, that means adsorbent required to treat 1 meter cube or 1 kg of the solvent. So that can be calculated by using this one. So that depends both Freundlich constants m and exponential coefficient n. So m and n are very important here. And apart from this, and if you just assume that it is y is equal to mx, n is 1, then you can find out what would be the m value by using SS by LS and Y0 Y1 by Y1. So in that way you can find out what would be the Freundlich constant value if you take n is equal to 1. Otherwise you can use this one to find out the final concentrations, because you have only one equation, and this is the operating line equation. So where the slope is ss by minus ss by ls, so you can draw the slope as you have drawn in case of the absorption, single stage absorption. So initially your y0 and the x0 are in contact, and then whatever ss by ls you have considered, so it will allow us to take the y1 and x1. These are the final values of solute concentration in the liquid phase or fluid phase or in the solid phase. So you can calculate that. So it depending on the SS and LS, you can calculate how much of the final solute is there in the fluid phase. For example, if you want this one is very less, then you can see here. So that means it gives very steep SS by LS, very less slope. Where less slope means the SS value will be less. And if you want more separation, then you can have this one as the operating line. So that means more slope. So if you want to remove the more solute from the liquid phase, then the more solid can be used. But however, it will also vary depending upon the adsorbent. For example, three adsorbents are used. So this is the activated carbon, let us assume, and this is silica gel, and this is the activated alumina. Maybe you can think three different adsorbents are used. So out of these three type of adsorbent, and this is concave upward, that means when n is greater than 1, you will get a concave upward. When n is equal to less than 1, you will get concave downward. When n is equal to 1, you will get a straight line. For example, you want to separation from y0 to y1, y0 to y1 of a particular solute, and you are using the three adsorbent, type 1, type 2, type 3, activated carbon, silica gel, alumina. Let us assume that. And you want for a fluid, it is to be reduced. So activated carbon is giving this type of isotherm, silica gel is giving a straight line, and this is giving like this. That is the alumina is giving like this. So when you draw one line here, horizontal line here, to reduce y0 to y1 in a single stage, this would be the operating line. Okay, this would be the operating line. So if you use silica gel, this would be the operating line. If you use this one, the operating line is like this. Okay. So if you carefully observe this three equilibrium curves by three different one, the slope is less for this one. The slope is less. That means it will consume less adsorbent, less adsorbent. And this consumes, because slope is very high, it consumes very high quantity of the adsorbent. Therefore, you can say by seeing this one, when n is equal to greater than 1, the consumption of the adsorbent will be less. When n is equal to less than 1, the consumption of the adsorbent will be more. So here, for example, if you have this one for a very costly adsorbent, even though it is consuming less, you cannot take this as an adsorbent to remove the moisture, any content of the solute from y0 to y1. And this adsorbent, even though it is taking more, but its cost is less, then you can go for this one. So the adsorption selection is very important. The adsorbent selection can be done based on the this Freundlich exponential constant and also the cost. So initially you can see this one and take which one is consuming more adsorbent, and then you take the cost estimation, and finally you can find out. However, this equation will allow us to calculate how much of adsorbent is required to treat unit weight of the that particular solvent. Okay, so that can be calculated by using this one in a single stage operation. And similarly, if you take multi-stage operations, so multi-stage cross current operation, then you can see here the this is also called a split feed treatment. Treatment will not be treated means feed will not be treated in a single stage. It will be treated in a different stages by splitting the um, maybe the separating agent, which is adsorbent. So you have this type of setup in the cross current operation. This is well known to you all because we have discussed in all the mass transfer operations. So you can see that here, and when this is a typically two-stage cross current operation. Here, instead of adding all adsorbent in a single stage, you added by dividing this into the either equal parts or known parts. You can divide and treat the feed in a split manner. So that is a split feed treatment. This is called a treat split feed treatment method. Okay, so what will happen here, as you know, in a previous uh, cross current stage, the feed enters here. So some of the adsorbent will be added here. For example, if you have a 10 kg, 5 kg you can add here, and then allow them to reach the equilibrium. Then this one will be entering into this. Again, a press feed of remaining 5 kg will be added here, and you will get finally this one. So what is the advantage this? For example, if you are having y0 to y2 and this is fixed, then the in a two-stage cross current operation, the consumption of the adsorbent requirement will be reduced. Or if you use the same adsorbent which you have used in the previous case, then the percentage of the separation, like y2 value, will be very, very less compared to the single stage operation. So this is the advantage. You can reduce the solid consumption, that means adsorbent consumption, by using the multi-stage cross current operations. So you can just look at this one because this is the most advantageous isotherm equivalent curve where n is greater than 1. Such curve will be taken as an adsorbent. Then initially in the first stage, y0 and x0 are added. Then it is allowed to reach the equilibrium. So with the this works, because you know here how much of SS1 is added for a given LS, so it will come down to this value. Then this is the feed to the second stage, and again the fresh adsorbent is added. Then they are allowed to reach the equilibrium. So in this way, you can reduce Y0 to Y2. For example, if you want to use uh, separate in a single stage, then you see from year to year, this would be the slope of the operating line if single stage used. So this slope which is coming SS, that is not equal to SS1 plus SS2, which is much greater than the these two values. So such a huge quantity of the solid is to be used to reduce the solid consumption, that is adsorbent consumption. Then we can adopt multi-stage cross current, maybe two stage, three stage of that. So that can be seen here. If you take the two stages, two cross current stages, so the first stage material balance can be written as here LS into Y0 to Y1. This much reduction in the concentration is taking place. Then in case of the solid, this much enhancement is taking place because this is the initial concentration, this is the final concentration. So this is the material balance of the adsorbate for the stage 1. This is the material balance of the adsorbate for the second stage. So for the fresh solid, you can assume that x0 is equal to 0. It doesn't have any solute. Then from the first stage, you can just uh, readjust this one. SS1 by LS is equal to this one, where x1 is, you have applied the Freundlich equation. So y1 by m whole power by 1 by n is equal to x1. Then similarly for stage 2, SS2 by LS is equal to y1 minus y2. So you will get y2 by m whole power 1 by n. So the total amount of the adsorbent now required is, you can add these two, then SS1 plus SS2 by LS is equal to m power 1 by n, and then you can add these two, so that will give this equation. So this is the total solid adsorbent which is required. And if you see here, this is the highly dependent on, because you know initial value, final value, highly dependent on intermediate concentration, that means y1. Okay, because you have fixed y0, this is given, so this is the desired, this is given, this is the desired. So the y1 is a typical value, and which is to be estimated. So how do you estimate that one? Because anybody want that SS1 plus SS2, this is the total solid for a unit weight of the solvent should be minimum in the operation. So when you make this d of this one with respect to of dy1, and when you make that 0, so this is a d of this one by dy1, you can differentiate this one, and finally you can get this equation. And like you can make a differential d of SS1 plus SS2 by LS by dy1 is 0 for the minimum condition. So differentiate this one with respect to of y1 and made equal to 0, and then you will get this equation. And this equation clearly indicates, and this is valid for the minimum total adsorbent requirement. Minimum total adsorbent requirement, because you made a differential quantity of this is equal to 0. So that gives the minimum total adsorbent. For this case, this equation is valid. And if you carefully observe this equation, here intermediate concentration can be calculated by using the initial value is y0, final value is y2, and also the n value, that is the Freundlich exponential constant. But the m value doesn't have any effect on the minimum total adsorbent requirement. Only n and intermediate concentrations can be. So intermediate concentration can be calculated by using this one. For example, when you take n is equal to 1, then you will get a typical equation. The intermediate concentration is equal to uh, root of y0 into y2. So such a simple uh, equation will be obtained for the case when is equal to 1. However, the intermediate concentration can be calculated by using this one. Then again that can be substituted in this equation, so that the total solid requirement can be estimated. Okay, total solid requirement at a, which is required minimum. More than that you should take in the operation. So that is how the minimum solid requirement in case of the multi-stage cross current operation for the desired separation y0 to y2 can be estimated. Okay, and also the similar thing can be done in case of the multi-stage counter current operation. And in the multi-stage counter current operation, again you can see the similar type of the cascading system which you can use. where the solute is um, removed from uh, the either liquid, or you can take a fluid. So that is flowing in this direction, and adsorbent is flowing in opposite direction. However, this type of pattern is very difficult if solid is involved. So you can have to take care of that, and we will discuss how this type of multi-stage counter current operation pattern can be obtained by using different techniques, that we will see in the while we are discussing in equipment in the next slides. Okay, but however, you can see in a similar manner. I need not to explain because number of times such type of cascading systems explained, and this is the overall material balance equation, uh, and then you can draw the equilibrium curve like this. Then the operating line will join this one. For example, YNP2, YNP2, XNP plus 1. XNP plus 1 is the adsorbent which is having certain solute. Maybe fresh adsorbent will have a 0. So you can make this is sometimes 0. So this is the starting point. And here, this side is Y0. So that one Y0. Then the X1. X1 is the spent adsorbent will have this much of concentration. Then you can draw this line, operating line. Then you have number of stages can be estimated. Okay, so number of stages can be estimated like this, and this method is uh, already known to you all. And then here, the minimum solid requirement can be obtained because this point is known. Then you have to draw one particular point where the operating line and equilibrium line intersect. This is called a pinch line point, and this pinch point can be drawn, which will be required infinite number of stages. Such a point can be drawn and find out the slope. So this slope, operating line slope, gives the minimum solid requirement. So this is how you can find out the minimum solid requirement to reduce Y0 to YNP. And if the this type of concave downward type of isotherm is there, then you have to draw the intercept and find out again the slope of the operating line to estimate how much of the minimum solvent, minimum solid is required. Okay, so this is how you can able to find out the minimum solid requirement, and which is known to you in from your previous you know mm, studies. Okay, now let us take a two different stages in the multi-stage counter current operation. Okay, so this I think we'll discuss maybe in the next class. Okay, now I think it is